meeting of the Madison County School Board back into session. First, we've got to take care of some legal business related to our closed session.
Whereas the Madison County School Board has convened a closed meeting on this date pursuant to an affirmative recorded vote and in accordance with the provisions of the Virginia Freedom of Information Act, and whereas Section 2.2-3712 of the Code of Virginia requires a certification by this school board that such closed meeting was conducted in conformity with Virginia law. Therefore, be it resolved that the Madison County School Board hereby certifies that, to the best of each member's knowledge, number one, only public business matters lawfully exempted from open meeting requirements by Virginia law were discussed in the closed meeting to which this certification applies. And two, only such public business matters were identified in the motion convening the closed meeting were heard, discussed, or considered.
Ms. Collier has moved. Is there a second?
I'll second.
Ms. Allen has seconded. Ms. Patterson, would you call the roll, please?
Mrs. Allen?
I certify.
Mrs. Collier?
I certify.
Dr. Eichelberger?
I certify.
Mr. Green?
I certify.
Dr. Penholler?
I certify. And now will you stand and join us in the pledge of allegiance? I pledge allegiance
To the flag of the United States of America, to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Now, if you would join us, please, in a moment of silence. Thank you. Is there a motion related to the personnel matters we discussed in closed session?
I'd like to make a motion that we approve the personnel matters and addendum for October the 11th, 2021, to include appointments, substitute reappointments, coaching stipends, and resignations as presented.
Ms. Allen has moved. Is there a second?
I'll second.
Mr. Green has seconded. Any further discussion? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. And the personnel matters are approved. Is there a motion related to the items on our consent agenda?
I'd like to make a motion to approve the October 11th, 2021 consent agenda as presented. That includes the school board meeting minutes from September the 13th, 2021, claims, operating expenses, food services, CIP, supplemental appropriation expenses, and the expenditure report.
Thank you. Ms. Collier has moved. Is there a second?
I second.
Dr. Eichelberger is second. Any further discussion? All in favor of the motion, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. And the consent agenda is approved. Now we move to recognitions. Employee of the month.
Yes, our employee of the month he is sitting right down here with us, Harris Pate. Wave, Harris. There is a saying that technology will not replace great teachers, but technology in the hands of great teachers can be transformational. Mr. Pate is an integral part of the technology team, striving to provide the best tools for our teachers and students. Mr. Pate works tirelessly to ensure student and staff devices are up to date and operational. The fast-paced nature and oftentimes urgency of his job demands great flexibility, which he has shown multiple times this year. And also, school board, as you know, he sets up the sound for our board meetings, and he's making it possible for folks at home to watch. So thank you, Mr. Pate, for all you do for Madison County Public Schools.
You don't want to make a speech? Senior of the month.
All right, before we get started with Senior of the Month, I like to let folks know if they're not familiar with the program. Our Senior of the Month program showcases a graduating senior, one each month during the school year, and recognizes them for their academics, their extracurricular activities, and their service to others. Each Senior of the Month will be recognized here monthly at a board meeting with the presentation that we do. And then at the end of the school year, we'll once again honor the Seniors of the Month. And those seniors, in turn, will bring to a banquet an educator that's had a great influence on their education and honor them at that banquet at that time. So tonight, our Senior of the Month is Samantha Woodward. Was she able to come? Okay, Samantha, you can actually go ahead and come all the way up here because Samantha is actually going to be our school board student rep. So I'm going to go ahead and get her in her seat. And you can clap for her. So you can go ahead and get her,
Sure.
make her official too. But let me tell you about her first. This is a statement from Miss Wenham, who couldn't be here tonight. She's traveling to the golf championship game. She says, since Samantha entered high school, she has distinguished herself as a leader among her peers and an advocate for herself and her classmates. Very quickly, Samantha became known among school administrators and the school community as loving Madison County High School and wanting to make it better for everyone. She has served on this student principals cabinet since it began at the high school. And at the first meeting this school year, she was clearly optimistic and served as a positive energy source for all the cabinet and for Ms. Wenham. Samantha truly bleeds Mountaineer blue and embraces the slogan, "It's a great day to be a Mountaineer." Samantha extends this energy into her role of serving as the school mascot and embraces our core values in an exceptional way. For example, this year, Samantha has proven to be able to innovate and design programs to help other students as she designed a peer tutoring model for the football team and presented her idea to administration and Coach Helmick. As a result, Samantha now attends study hall with the football team and helps them academically as well as supporting them on the sidelines. Throughout high school, Samantha has also attended Blue Ridge Virtual Governor School, taken rigorous coursework, and has a competitive GPA extending beyond a 4.0. In addition, she has completed internships within Health and Medical Science Career Cluster, optimized any school spirit occasion with her excitement and pride, and is rarely seen without a smile, even when wearing a mask. I think that's called like smizing, yes. Her eyes show her passion and love for the high school at all times. Samantha has post-secondary education plans to attend a four-year university with her first choice being JMU, and looks forward to a career where she'll be able to blend the career pathways of criminal justice and health and medical sciences, likely becoming a medical examiner or working for the FBI. Regardless of her goals and aspirations, she already demonstrates soft skills that employers and colleges desire, and we are lucky to have a student like Samantha contributing to the greatness of Madison County High School. So congratulations on being Senior of the Month.
To add to that tribute, Samantha was a stellar student in my Blue Ridge Virtual Governor School online course last semester, Health Humanities. So in this case, when we hear about it, I know that what it said about you is true. So,
well, thank you. Thank you very much.
Now, board, do we need a motion to amend our agenda to move the approval of Samantha as the school board rep?
Yes?
Would someone be willing to
Did
make
we
that
do
motion?
that? So I'll make a motion to move 12A, the school board student representative, to 8C.
I think that would work.
Will that work?
That would work, yeah. We have a motion to move 12A to 8C on the agenda. Is there a second?
I'll second.
Val is seconded. Any further discussion? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. All right, we have amended our agenda, and so now we can act on the nomination of Samantha Woodward as the student representative to the school. Is there a motion to that effect?
I'll make a motion to approve Samantha Woodward as the student school board representative for the 2021-2022 school year as recommended by the high school principal.
Second.
Ms. Collier moved, Dr. Eichelberger seconded. Any further discussion? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. It is approved. Samantha, welcome to the school board.
Thank you.
I guess, do you want to make a speech as your first act?
I just want to thank you all. I just want to thank you all for your approval to have me as the student school board representative. Hopefully, I can help to make an even bigger difference than I already have.
Sure you would. We now are entering our period of public comment. Our policies call for the chair to recognize those who wish to speak. I'll direct you to this microphone on my left, your right. According to our policies, you are to state your name, your address, and the subject of your remarks. When you have finished, if any member of the board seeks further information, they will ask to be recognized by the chair. However, please understand, public comment is not a time for dialogue, but merely for us to hear your concerns and views. You're directed to be respectful and civil in your remarks. Our policies say that use of intemperate, abusive, and defamatory language will be ruled out of order. Each speaker is allotted 3 minutes. In the past, I've been sort of haphazard about keeping track of the time. So tonight, our clerk, Ms. Patterson, will be keeping time for us and will signal when your time has expired. I will ask speakers at that point to conclude their remarks. So is there anyone here tonight to address the board?
Here.
Please come to this microphone.
Lisa Davis from Locustdale. I want to start off with a comment about Biden's administration overreach directing the FBI to focus on parents accused of harassing school officials around the country. This is another unbelievable action by an incompetent administration who now is trying to silence parents' voices when it comes to school boards. So I'm now labeled a domestic terrorist if I raise my voice or publicly challenge you. I've started a dialogue with the board in June and still have not gotten any type of specific response except, quote, "We do not teach critical race theory," which I challenge with critical race theory references used by the Virginia Department of Education. The chairman finally passed the buck to the school superintendent to answer my many questions. I've yet to get a satisfactory answer at that level, but Ms. Graham did attempt to, and I hope to meet with her soon. I've sent 2 emails and a voice message so far with no response. I just keep getting general references as answers when I keep asking for specific answers as to how Madison schools are teaching their curriculum. My FOIA requests are forthcoming, in which by law, they must be answered by a certain time. Why you see me here every month is because I am scared. I'm scared for our country, I'm scared for our schools and our kids' futures. I've seen socialism at its finest in Russia in the mid-'80s, East Germany before the wall came down, and other satellite countries of the old Soviet Union. We should have our high school students read Animal Farm because that is what's happening to us. Last month, you had an excellent presentation from a lawyer showing you that we can remove the mask mandate at our schools and break no law in doing so. I gave you references and stats on COVID deaths that show children have a higher % probability of getting killed by a car than COVID, along with the psychological damage to children by wearing masks. Yet we never hear any response or comments from our presentations, whether you agree or not. I feel you sit there in silence and tolerate us speakers and then ignore anything spoken. I request the next meeting that you that you answer or you post on your webpage a formal response to what we are asking from the previous month, and not just, quote, we discussed and took a vote and voted against it. I want the whys, the reasoning, and etc. Why are we having these meetings and we are not listened to? I asked last month for a letter to be written to the appropriate agencies concerning unmasking our children, providing data, specific references, and to use our own survey of parents done earlier that was over 75% in favor of no mask. I ask again, what is the status of my request? I also think our educators have been insulted by the governor when he declared on August 24th, 2020 that Virginia schools are guilty of systemic racism and declared his intention to build anti-race school communities. If schools are racist, who's committing it? The school board, the administration, the teachers? A few years ago, this would have been unthinkable, and now it's the norm. We assume anyone in education is racist.
Davis, can you bring your comments to a conclusion? You passed your 3 minutes.
Okay, in conclusion, I will be here in person each month unless out of town because someone has to stand up and fight for the rights of parents and children.
Thank you. Anyone else to address the board tonight?
Hi, my name is Matt. I'm from Madison County. I'm obviously a parent. Mr. Green, last meeting I was at, I afforded you a little bit of privacy, and I told you I did what I did out of respect for you. Now you understand why, because I can relate to that. But there was still a point of integrity that was being asked on, and I was hoping that you would find that integrity in you as an individual to step up and do the right thing. I did see your comment in the paper where you again denied that fact. And so now I will say that the item that I handed you last week was a photograph of your vehicle, your Lexus, parked out in front of your now wife's house in Norfolk area. I'm still not going to give that address out because I want to afford you the right to protect your family. But now I'm going to shift gears to Ms. Eckelberg. Can you help me explain to me what is, and I know you're not going to answer my questions, which is fine. Can you explain to me what an equity task force is and why we're asking for volunteers out of closed groups that would seem not to be equitable because not everybody's allowed in those groups? And if that's not equitable and we can't, not everybody gets a say in that, I'm not sure also that we're allowed to be talking about this outside of that group either, because the rules of that group said that what said in that group, you're not allowed to say outside the group. But I'm kind of a rule breaker a little bit, so I'm going to do that. For the other folks up there, Barry, we've already gone over how you're complicit in all this. Miss Karen, I want to say you're a very lovely individual, and Miss Collier, you as well are a very lovely individual. I stated last time that we look into everybody, and you two only seem to be the only decent folks that are sitting up there on the board, with exception to Mr. Green. I will say I respect you a lot as a father, and I understand why you're doing what you're doing, but there's a level of integrity that we're asking for here. So I get it, you're not running again. This is what, second to last meeting, something like that for you. Good luck in your endeavors in the future. But I was asking for a level of integrity, and you didn't show it. So it is what it is. I'm going to pass off the information I have now to the appropriate channels, and they'll deal with what they got to deal with. So thank you for my time.
Thank you.
Come on, Wayne.
Anyone else to address the board tonight? Seeing no one indicating a desire, we will end this time of public comment and move on to staff reports, beginning with the primary school renovation update.
Skanska, sorry, could not be here this evening, so they just passed on a few updates for me to provide the board. The first is that the freezer at the primary school is now set and operating, so the school started putting food in that on Friday. So that's very good news. That's actually a freezer refrigerator combo that was ordered. The cubbies have now been delivered to the school as of last week, so those were the last few that we were waiting on. Testing and balancing was completed last week, and they're expecting a final report this week. Casework repairs will be worked on this week. That includes like the latches, the hinges on the shelving. The art shelving is supposed to arrive this week as well for the window. There's supposed to be a display unit there. Hard copies of closeout documents will be printed once they're approved by the architects and engineers. And then punch list items are still being corrected this week. So those were their few updates.
Any questions, board members, about the primary school?
You think we'll be able to close out the primary next month?
That's the plan. So we have.
Thank you.
And we have a presentation from the primary school. Not about the building, but about the education that's going on in it, right?
Good evening, everyone. Want to thank you for affording us the opportunity to come and speak with you a little bit tonight. And Ms. Johnson and myself want to just share maybe a little bit of an outline of some of the things that we're doing differently this year to try to recapture some of the lost learning we've experienced over the last couple of years. And first of all, I just want to quickly review with you on the left side of this slide sort of what we look at during a typical year, what our typical performance expectations are. We do work on a tiered model with Tier 1 representing the instruction that's received by all students, Tier 2 representing a much smaller group that requires some small group support, and then Tier 3 an even smaller group that requires some more intensive intervention and typically individualized or very, very small group intervention. In typical years, we're able to meet this model, but if you look at the pyramid on your right, it sort of represents the challenges that we're facing this year. Not a scientific model. We shared with the board last spring some specific numbers. But I want to mention that this pyramid sort of represents the challenges we face in reading. In other subject areas, the challenges are much smaller, more of a 4 to 5% decrease. Reading is much more significant and obviously worthy of most of our attention. So really, how do we recover lost learning is a big question to answer here. And I think we don't answer that without first discovering why we're experiencing this. So the easy answer, of course, is the pandemic. But how did the pandemic affect us? And we need to understand where we lost to move forward to correct things. So as we look at the past couple of years, we know that we've lost some significant Tier 1 instructional time. We had 2 months of lost instruction 2 years ago. And then last year, of course, we had to restructure, reorganize, and certainly came as a negative effect on our core instruction, I think. At the same time, when we reallocated personnel, our intervention system took a hit as well. So then the question becomes, do we need to focus on instruction or intervention? And I think the obvious answer is we need to focus on both. So some of the things that we did to start with, we had cross-grade level pacing meetings. So we had our kindergarten teachers meet with first grade teachers, first with second, PK with kindergarten, and so forth. So everyone could gain an understanding of exactly what instruction was lost and how can we most efficiently address that. So what we did was to fold lost instruction into like standards at the next grade level. So if you're looking at the vertical alignment of the SOLs, for example, scientific method is taught at each grade level, then we need to enhance our instruction at first grade from what was lost in that area in kindergarten. We thought that was the most efficient way to approach it. Organizational changes. We shifted first grade reading to the morning, to first thing in the morning. We would have loved to have done second grade too. We feel like that's our biggest bang for our buck is in the morning when everyone's fresh. So we were able to get at least 2 of our 3 grade levels with reading in the morning. We also reassigned some personnel in order to provide some tier 1 reading support. And I do want to give kudos to Jennifer Waltera because she is our reading specialist, and she I don't know, above and beyond creating schedules to make things work for us. It's been very challenging. We also added some additional positions to address our areas of need. I'll speak about a couple of those in a moment. Some of our curriculum changes, we added the Bridges Math program as a Tier 2 intervention option. We're using Touch Math at the Tier 2 level, but now we have the Bridges program to supplement that. And we have also implemented Recipe for Reading as a Tier 1 literacy curriculum in kindergarten. Recipe for Reading is a multi-sensory approach that falls in line with Department of Education's Science of Reading initiative, and our kindergarten teachers are the ones that we were able to provide with the most professional development to move forward with that. So we have done that as well. When we studied our data from the last couple of years, there were a couple of areas that really stood out. We looked at our PALS results, we talked with our teachers, and 2 huge areas for us were phonemic awareness and fine motor skills for students. So with that in mind, we did add that Tier 1 level support with an additional phonemic awareness support at the Tier 1 level. Again, that's all classrooms. And this comes in addition to our core curriculum, the phonemic awareness instruction associated with our core curriculum. We also have spoken with our occupational therapists and provided some additional collaborative support for classroom teachers on how to address weaknesses in that area. We also added a math interventionist. Now, we have had a math interventionist in the past, lost that position, but continue with math intervention. So our instructional coach was delivering a lot of this math intervention for our students. Hiring this person freed up our instructional coach to focus more on reading and also allowed a much closer oversight of our Tier 2 math intervention program that happens in the classroom. So that's a huge position for us. We also increased our capacity to serve Tier 2 reading students by 25% through personnel reassignment. So what that means is we have looked at the instructional assistants in the building and think we're using them a little more efficiently, and we're able to create one additional full position to provide Tier 2 reading support for students. Through the hiring of the student success coach, we were able to increase our Tier 3 capacity to serve 50% more students, which is right on what we expected, if you might recall our spring meeting, that we would need an increase of 50% services in that area, and we were able to do that with the student success coach. So that's very important to us as well. Farther than academics, we know also that students are demonstrating a greater need in social emotional learning as we're coming out of this pandemic as well. Ms. Johnson is here with us tonight to share a little bit about what we're doing in that area.
Thank you all. So last year, Mrs. Organ-Lohr, our school counselor, began a smaller implementation of Second Step. She taught lessons directly to our kindergarten students and offered some supports to our first and second grade teachers to teach some of those topics in the classroom. This year, that has expanded PK to 2, and the teachers are teaching these lessons, and they cover things like active listening, feelings, making and keeping friends, problem solving, and decision making. A letter went home in the beginning of the year to parents with an overview of the program, and there is a note that accompanies each lesson that lets them know what's being discussed in the classrooms, so they are fully aware and they can follow up on that discussion at home if they so choose. We've also added some additional personnel positions. In addition to Ms. Organ-Lore, we've added a half-time counselor. Ms. Keys splits her time between Waverly and the primary school. That's a little bit in flux right now. We have another one of Waverly's counselors out on extended leave, but she was added to that to add some additional supports, and she provides small group support, such as friendship groups, and she can also respond to crises, which do happen occasionally at the primary level. And it also increases our capacity to meet the needs of these students who aren't getting those needs met at the tier 2 at the tier 1 level. We also have a behavior interventionist. She can not only offer suggestions to teachers for behaviors in the classroom, but with more significant behaviors, she can help provide guidance, observations to behavior plans. And if she does so, there is lots of parent involvement and support in that process. There's also the capability of providing direct services to that student if those things aren't helpful, where she can spend some time with them individually or in small group providing direct services. In the 2019-2020 school year, along with the support of Macy Lane, she was instrumental in getting this program going. We began the Mountaineer Backpack Club, and we started sending food home to students over the weekends. These were students who were recommended by teachers and our school counselor. We did not continue this last year just because of the logistics of us being split between 2 buildings, and because our school nutrition program did such a fantastic job of food distribution. We know it was available to the community as a whole, but we have restarted that program this year. And thanks to the Harvest Church of God for funding this for us and making this happen. We are currently serving 15 students, but we're hoping that we will be able to expand that as the year progresses. Thank you all.
Well, that's a really quick overview of the things we've been working on over the past year and into this year. We are happy to answer any questions that you have.
Board, do you have any questions?
I do. Mr. Corner, I'd like to compliment you and your staff for making all the adjustments based on the data that you had. Question I have is, when will you retest with PALS?
We will retest with PALS at mid-year. I will say that this year, looking at the data, we did see more of what we would typically refer to as a summer slump. We usually expect about a 10% increase from spring scores to fall scores. We're seeing about a 20% increase. So those mid-year PAL scores really are going to be more important to us this year than they have been in past years.
Thank you.
Mr. Corner, I was particularly pleased to see the military student groups. I'm assuming that support for students, 1 or more parents are deployed. How many students of yours are affected?
We don't have many. Okay. We don't have many. Just a couple, and it varies quite a bit from year to year. But we have a number of those. We use like friendship groups and the military student groups as examples of what we would consider to be a tier 1 function of our counseling.
Sure, excellent. And also help me. What is a multi-sensory phonemic awareness intervention?
Multisensory approach to instruction in general just takes advantage of all of a child's senses. So rather than just hearing what a letter sound is, It's also involved with tactile strategies, student movement, and that sort of thing. So it capitalizes on all senses, so it touches more learning styles than just your standard.
I mean, and the note says you're implementing that. Does that mean we were not doing that before in Tier 1 and we are now doing that in Tier 1?
That is what that means, yes. We have typically used that predominantly in Tier 2 and Tier 3 intervention situations. But we are seeing now, as the science of reading from DOE would suggest, that it's just good instruction for all students.
I do have a question in regards to changing the pacing guide, trying to recover lost instruction. How's that coming along, and do you feel like we'll be able to make up that instructional loss while preparing them for their upcoming testing and things?
To your first question, yes, I think it is going well. I think our meetings were very productive, and we were able to insert that additional instruction as efficiently as we possibly could. So I think it's going well. Do I think that we'll recoup this? Yes, I do. Do I think we'll recoup it by this spring? I think that's doubtful. To be quite blunt and honest, I think this is a 2-year process, to be sure.
All right, I definitely appreciate your honesty there. My last question is, have discipline been going up due to the kids returning back? Have we seen an increase in disciplinary actions towards our students?
Yes, sir. We sure have. But in fairness, I think it's more fair to compare our number of discipline issues with a year other than last year. I think what we saw last year was in that regard phenomenal. We had 6 feet of distancing. We had much reduced numbers of students in classrooms. So it was just a different feel. Don't get me wrong, it was not worth the lost instruction that we experienced, but it's probably an unfair comparison looking at those 2 years. But I would say even looking at the previous year that we're seeing probably not an increase in the number of instances, but a slight increase in the severity of those instances, I think is what we're looking at. I don't think it's over the top. I wouldn't say that we're having discipline issues this year that we've never seen in the past. That's certainly not true. But in some cases, there's been some fairly significant problems.
Thank you.
Anyone else?
Thank you very much.
I've just got one more.
Okay.
Don't go me so quickly. How do folks like the new building?
They love the new building. I love the new building too. I will love it much more when I can stop talking to architects and.
Sure.
But it's fabulous. The huge advantage of the additional instructional spaces is going to be a boom for us on that. So just the atmosphere of learning has been affected in a positive way. And not to mention the pride that's associated with walking into that building each morning.
All right. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
10C, instruction update. Dr. Jones.
That would be me. So you can go ahead there, Harris. Last month I showed you the enrollment numbers. You may remember that the total at that time was 1626. And the question was to come back and share with you all about our withdrawals, enrollments, etc. So that's what I have on my next 2 slides. Withdrawals first. You can see at each school level how many students left for particular destinations. And this is from the months of August and September. To other Virginia public schools, we had 67 students withdraw. To home instruction, we had 26. To private schools, we had 20. Out of state were 16 with a total of 129 withdrawals. And then for our enrollments, you can see that we had 60, he changed, but I did not. We had 72 enrollments from Virginia Public Schools, 19 from home instruction. Private, we enrolled 16, out of state were 15, and out of country, that's a foreign exchange student that's with us. We had 1 for a total of 123. So we have a difference of 6 students overall between the enrollments and withdrawals. It was a -6 at this particular time as of 10/1/21.
So is this basically on par for normal years? Seems like it.
It is. We compared it to last year, and it is right on par. Last year we were -1. So, and the numbers were about the same, 129 and 128. So right on par. So I wanted to bring that back and share that with you all this month. We have a lot of other instructional updates from Mr. Pointer and then from technology that you'll hear and have already heard tonight. Any questions about that otherwise?
No questions? Technology update?
Thank the board very much for letting me have this opportunity to come out and talk about our CPS technology. One of the things I'd like to bring to you guys' attention, just to start off with, it's been an incredible summer for us. One of the things that's was very interesting for myself just to take over the job, with losing obviously our former director, and then we had another person that left us over the summer. We were down to basically one person in the technology department who had actually been there longer than 6 months, and that was Mr. Harris Pate. He had started with the technology department back in, I think, January of last year or so, or a little earlier maybe. So, you know, with a lot of things that we pulled off this summer, I think Harris very much deserves the recognition that he got tonight. So I want to make sure that he understands how much he meant to us, and he was a major part of this. So if you guys don't mind, one good time. So with this opportunity, I do want to recognize our other members of the Technology Department. Miss Jessica DeBoer is our DDOT. She is actually taking on a major role this year as well with us with the EDOE bringing in the new SOLs. We're having new SOLs right now. We just got done with a lot of them. Map testing, helping out with PALS. She's done a lot this already in the first couple months of school. Miss Kim Adams is taking over as our ITRT. She's been instrumental in helping us out with new teachers, as well as bringing in some more technology to the classroom. We'll talk about some of the TVs that we brought forth earlier. She's been helping out the teachers with those at the primary school especially. Mr. Taylor Davis is a part-time tech with us. We got him over the summer in July. He's been a great addition to the staff. It's been instrumental in helping us basically keep up with some of the tech tickets and stuff like that. And obviously Mr. Harris Pate, the technology specialist, and then myself, Director of Technology. So to kind of give you an idea with this, I kind of did a brain dump to kind of just give you an idea of what we've done in the last 3 months. I took over the job on July 1st, and there was a lot of big projects that we had to get taken care of. So I don't want to go through every single one of them, but to kind of give you an idea of just some of the stuff we pulled off this summer, we updated or manually updated and basically touched 1,700 different Chromebooks. We had to move the technology department 3 different times. We were actually located in WMS in 2 classrooms. So we had to move things from the 2 classrooms to the cafeteria, get the distribution done, then move all those items over to the central office where we actually are located now. We also basically prepared over 40 teacher computers, 275 iPads that all went to the Madison Primary School. You know, with a lot of these things, we're getting smart. We have made sure to not have the same issues as we did this year when it comes to distribution. We made some changes to our policies when it comes to how we're giving out our technology so that we don't have the massive distribution nights anymore. Students now have, and we're on a plan to basically buy new Chromebooks every so many years, which we've done in the past, but now we have it on a plan to where those kids can keep those Chromebooks for up to 5 years. So a kid who gets their Chromebook in 3rd grade will keep it till 8th grade, and then 8th grade through senior year. This will allow us to be, obviously a lot less Chromebooks coming back to us at one time, but also allow us to basically set a good budget to be able to manage everything through the years. Some of the other projects that we did as well, we implemented a new inventory system. It's called Asset Tiger. With this new system, it allows us to use barcodes, and it allows us to basically keep a better track of all of our different equipment. In the past, we've used a lot of spreadsheets and stuff like that, which has been effective, but just not as good as this when it comes to being able to track what we have out, what's been turned back into us, what's floating in the repairs, that sort of thing. One of our bigger projects for the summer was also the TV systems. Many of you know what we're talking about with being at the primary school, the TV that you use to monitor. Each one of those stands had to be put together along with mounting the TVs. When we timed it out, it took about 45 minutes per, so that was about a 4 to 5 day project right there, just to try to get the TV and everything mounted on the wall, mounted to be able to then hook it up to the Wi-Fi and get everything updated and stuff. So it was quite a big project just for those. Some of the other things that we've taken care of include setting up the satellite internet for the Blue Building, which is also attached to the field house, which will now allow us to improve our videos for the football games. Shouldn't have as many problems with viewing that as now. And then the one that really stands out to me are the hotspots. Harris and I went round and round about the hotspots, because I'll be honest with you, when I took over the job, I was very confused. And what I mean by very confused is that Verizon had a recall on over 900 hotspots. So every hotspot that we gave out last year, we had to try to get back from the students, take the hotspot, take the battery out, put it into a fireproof packaging, put it into a box, and ship it back to Verizon, for them to then give us the new hotspot that we get to then activate ourselves and give out to the students. Each one of those hotspots takes about 10 minutes to activate. Each one of those hotspots takes about 10 to 15 minutes to deactivate and send in to the company. So with 900 of them, it was just very tedious, takes a long time. Harris and myself and other members we were taking them home at times just to try to get them done, doing the best we could with them. One of the other pieces of this, we've completed over 1,000 tech requests since July 1st. This would include things from anything from a kid needing a charger to a teacher needing email, a TV set up in their room, another monitor. It could be 5 things on one tech request. So just a lot of things going on at once, trying to make sure our big projects are taken care of, but also taking care of the teachers and the students has been a major priority for us. Students are always the ones that we want to try to get taken care of first, along with teachers, and then we move on to our bigger stuff. Some of the other pieces that we looked at this summer that were really big for us, the Power School and Canvas rollovers. We had some issues with Canvas when it came to Power School. We're still trying to work those out. I know a lot of other districts kind of saw the same problems. Our T1 line got hit by lightning twice this summer. So that really had a negative effect on being able to set the phones up. Because of the way things were done last year with us moving the primary school, etc., every phone in the district was pretty much changed over to where the primary teachers were at Wetzel were at the high school. So we had to change all those phones back, plus take new phones over to the primary school, and all that had to be done in about 2 weeks, because that's when we got the primary school back. So a lot of, as we're going through this, a lot of the things that were done, when we talk about this, it was done in a very short amount of time just because of the rollover with the primary, the amount of other stuff that was going on. So once again, just kudos to the technology department and how hard they work. So other pieces that we've also worked on, 2 technology grants. Every year we do the security grant that helps us with our cameras, helps us out with different aspects of the schools. We usually try to pick one of the different schools to kind of hit as best we can. This year we chose the high school, so we should find out about that very soon. The second grant that we did was the Emergency Connectivity Fund, the ECF. We did find out about, on Friday, we found out information that we did receive $108,000 for that grant that will buy us 500 new Chromebooks for next year. So that's fully reimbursed. So we're very excited about that. There's another grant window that closes on Wednesday that we're planning on applying for as well, and that might hopefully take care of some of the teacher computers for next year. So some of our upcoming projects for October and December, our Cat 2 funding came in, so we're going to look at all the switches and try to get those changed out during Christmas while a lot of the students are out. We've been basically making some adjustments to our division website, and then we're going to also provide some PD for our teachers or staff at the schools that are also responsible for those school websites. We're also looking into some virtual reality headsets. This is something that we're looking into for the next couple of years as something that might be effective for some of our science and history classes especially. The biggest issue with the reality headsets right now is that most of them are somehow connected to Facebook or some kind of personal device that actually runs the headset. That's the thing that creates a problem for us. However, we have, Ms. Kim Adams has actually been heading a lot of this. She's actually looked into a company that's overseas in Europe, and they have a classroom set that actually comes with all the devices, etc., that will run itself. So we're trying to look into grants and stuff for that to see if that's an option for us in the future. That's definitely the, kind of like I said, a brain dump of some of the things that we've done so far in the last 3 months, some of the upcoming projects that we have. I must say that this is a much different experience coming up in front of you as technology rather than a principal. I was feeling bad for Mike there for a second. I was like, I remember that. But, really do appreciate this opportunity to talk to you and have absolutely love to answer any questions that you have.
Don, I had a question about what I think I understood. In the past, we've been handing out the Chromebooks and recollecting them every year. Now a student will get their Chromebook in the 3rd grade and they'll keep it for 5 years.
That's what we're going to try to do. And I wouldn't say we've done it in the past. I mean, last year was its first,
Okay.
Last year was the first time we'd ever sent Chromebooks home. And at the end of this year, it was probably necessary to collect those for sure to make sure that we had an idea of what we had.
Right.
And that was one of the big pieces with the time period that Sam had last year to be able to get all that together, pull those out of the carts. I mean, just, with having obviously much more of a view of what's going on, just taking a computer out of a cart is a hassle. I mean, we talk about trying to clip the pack, it's a 5-minute process just to pull one Chromebook out of the cart and try to get the charger with it. So last year, to be able to collect all those at the end of last year, that was a good thing for us. I don't ever want to do it again. I'd rather just collect a certain amount for sure.
Right.
But like this year, our plan is, for example, the 500 Chromebooks that we received, that will cover Waverly. Right now, Waverly has G5 Chromebooks. G5 Chromebooks means the AUE runs out this year in June, meaning that they will not receive any more security updates. Essentially, they're still functional, but we can't use them in school because they make our network vulnerable. So what that allows us to do is basically take those 500, we can now distribute them 3rd through 5th. So it throws us off in the concept that those 5th graders would now be 10th graders when they get a new one, but it sets us on a cycle to be able to say, all right, we don't have to collect your Chromebook every single year. If you have a problem, if you need it fixed, those are things we can do. But it allows the kids to keep those. There's a lot less back and forth. That was one of the reasons we wanted to make sure we had a good inventory
I mean, the
system.
thing I was wondering was, obviously there's a certain amount of damage to Chromebooks, across time. If a child knows this tool is going to be mine for 5 years, that might give them a stronger protective.
Absolutely.
Is that a part of the motivation, or?
Yes, sir. One of the things because we've talked to a lot of parents from last year, and one of the things with turning their stuff in is we definitely had some parents that were upset about turning it in because they'd taken such good care of it, and they wanted they wanted that same Chromebook back, and they knew they probably weren't going to get one in quite as good a condition. One of the things that we definitely try to do, and when we were doing the manual updates and stuff like that, we checked everyone as best we could. We literally wiped down every single one with Clorox wipes, made sure the keys were functional. We tried to hand them back a product that we could be proud of. Now, I will admit, we probably missed a couple with 1,700 of them, but we did try our best to do that. But hopefully in the future, this does set us up to where we're not worried about putting ourselves in that position. Those kids will be responsible for it. They know, all right, if I ruin it now, chances are I'm not going to get a very nice Chromebook back. I might end up getting a repaired one, or I'm going to get one from several years ago because we can't afford to keep getting you brand new ones.
Other question, Gordon?
I do. Donald, just looking at your presentation, you guys have done a whole lot, since you've taken over. And also your team is very, very young.
Yes.
So what have you been doing to kind of coach them through some of the growing pains? Because I know you have encountered some difficulties on the job these last 3 months.
Well, the good news is that although we are a young staff, we do have some veterans. Ms. Kim Adams has been an integral part of this. Ms. DeBoer has been there. When I say that, most of us haven't been there, but Ms. DeBoer's been there for a while. I kind of left her out of that part, but she handles the testing and the power school stuff. So she wasn't necessarily part of this. And what I mean by that, she's an 11-month employee. So it wasn't anything for her to do, but she wasn't there for some of that stuff. But we've tried to meet once things kind of had gotten settled down. We're trying to meet at least once a week, every Monday or Tuesday, to make sure we have our ducks in a row for the week. We know what each one of us is doing and basically trying to plan out and make sure that we all have an idea. One of the things that we've taken very seriously, and Harris has been a big part of this, and all of us have really tried to jump on. We've taken on the mentality that it's kind of like the Green Beret concept. We all have to know what each other does. Harris is very knowledgeable when it comes to our network, when it comes to any of our equipment and stuff like that. He's trying to teach all of us to make sure that we understand those things as well. So if he's not there, or same with the TVs and things like that, or the copiers, anything like that, that we all become kind of like experts in our own field and try to teach each other.
Anyone else?
I just have one comment. Great job. I see a lot of best practices up there.
I know you recognize
I'm trying to stay in my lane. Because, this is what I do too. But I would, if I were in the medical world, I'd get sued for malpractice if I didn't tell you this advice. So I get that you're getting computers with grants, and totally understand that. Be aware in 5 years that grant's not gonna be there. So the money's gotta come from somewhere. I've been burnt by that, and you gotta go begging, and so just be aware, because 500 computers in 5 years is a lot of money.
Yes,
and
that's
that
actually,
grant might not be there, so.
And I agree with you.
I'm just,
completely.
I get it, one-time money, you gotta spend it, it's a good thing to get technology in here.
And we were on cycle actually to pay for those anyway.
But
that was part of the budget, so it's actually, this actually works out perfect, because we were actually on schedule to buy about that many this year,
Perfect.
theoretically. So it worked out pretty good.
Yeah,
I'm with you. No,
I get sued for malpractice if I didn't
ma'am.
share
I
that.
completely understand.
Colleague to colleague.
I know, and that's one of the things I thought about, because I was like, wait a minute, because we had just gotten some last June, so I was looking at the AUVs, worried about I want to make sure we get into the new cycle before so we're a year apart.
One-time technology money is dangerous.
Absolutely.
It is dangerous,
Absolutely.
So.
But don't turn it down.
Don't turn it down. No, not at all. But just remember, in 5 years, that same technology grant, or that grant may not be there. So I'll get back in my lane. Sorry.
Oh, no, I appreciate it. Yes, ma'am.
Anyone else? Thank you, Don.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Business information, COVID mitigation update.
Testing? Okay, thank you. Just not touch it. I was just going to do a few things for the COVID update this evening, because we've visited it like every month for the past 18 months, it seems. Just a few things. I talked a little bit about the COVID testing, the pooled testing program that the state was beginning to offer to districts. We are part of that program. Right now, we've only rolled out that option for our employees, and we're collecting signups on that at the moment, which is only 6 employees are interested in weekly COVID testing, completely voluntary. It is available to students, so we're working up documentation and permission slips if any parents would be interested. Some parents, because of their own personal careers, it's something they're interested in for their children, so it's something that'll be available. Again, it's only voluntary, and the parent would have to fill out a permission form for the student to participate. So that information will be going out soon to families. With that testing program, the state did provide some self-test kits for us. So now if a student or staff member starts feeling sick at school, and the nurses feel like, or the parents feel like it could be COVID related, these are kits that we can offer to the families or our staff members. They take them home. It's a dial-in, like a service where you log in and a doctor watches you take the test. Not one of our employees. It's something that you do at home. So that's different. That's for the testing program that we're part of. We did add a column on our COVID dashboard. We have been asked about updating quarantine numbers. We're still not doing that because our COVID dashboard only reflects COVID that's been present on our school property. And so to come up with the quarantine numbers for the nurses, it's so much for them to come up with because they know some students are quarantined that were never at school that they didn't put on quarantine. So that's just a lot. But a column that we thought might be helpful is instead of like collectively where we have the total of all the COVID cases, which right now it's been 37 since school started. Now there's a new column that lets families know just how many active cases do we have going on. So we think that's much more valuable for families, and right now the answer is there's 2 active cases that were present on school property. So there might be some other cases where people have just chosen to stay home. They were never at school when they were contagious, but for us, we currently have 2, so you can go on there now. Another question that we're getting, because I think it's on the news a lot, is the vaccinations. Whenever vaccinations become available for 5 to 11-year-olds, the health department has already reached out to us, just like they did for other vaccinations. And if it does eventually become available for the 5 to 11-year-olds, we will be partnering with the health department to offer clinics on the weekends, maybe some evenings if there's a need. I know some school divisions are offering the vaccinations at school with parent permission. We're worried about kids and their education right now, so we're planning on just partnering with them on the weekends and in the evenings. We just think that's best for us. Our nurses are already, they have a lot on their plates already, so we're not really wanting to take that on. And then Nurse Young has also sent out information for our staff because they do qualify for the Pfizer booster if they took the Pfizer vaccination. So she's gotten that information out to them, knowing that they're able to get the booster. So that's kind of all I had this evening as far as COVID update goes.
Any questions, board members? Thank you. And a request to name the baseball field.
So we had a gentleman speak last month and introduce this to the board regarding naming the baseball field in honor of Billy Mitchell. So we've put on board docs that you can see the procedure for that. If you all are interested, there's also the letters available in your files of folks that were writing in support of naming the baseball field for Mr. Mitchell. So he is well known in the community as a coach and educator. So if this is something that the board's interested in pursuing, you can talk about it tonight, and then if you're interested in putting it up for approval or anything, then you can do that at a future meeting.
But the general idea is that we're hearing about it tonight. We'll have a month to think about it.
Right.
And we'll act on this then next month.
Right, and this is the naming rights to a field, so it typically lasts for 5 years. However, 5 years from now, the board doesn't necessarily have to come back and make the decision again. It's pretty much if ever there was a need to change it, they could, but otherwise it just would remain.
And I think we created this policy, I don't know, 4 or 5 years ago, because there was a concern that you name everything and then
2014.
2014, okay. You name everything and then it's named in perpetuity and then you've got no way to honor people in the future. And so I was a little surprised to see that it was a 5-year, a little shorter than I was anticipating, but I'm pleased that there is some limit in there so we don't have to feel like if we do something, we are imposing it on a school board 30 years, 50 years, 100 years from now. Any questions from the board?
So I spoke with Mr. Jenkins this past week, and there's a concern about Mr. Mitchell's health and him being able to attend in the far future. And so I was going to propose, if possible, we vote on this tonight. Is that possible, since we've heard about it twice?
4 letters?
Yeah, because I only
Yeah.
see 3 on.
I see
There are only
3,
3.
but,
See 3.
yeah.
That's all that I've received so far.
See what?
That's all that I've received
Three.
so far. I'm
Is
sure
there a
I'll
requirement?
ask for a fourth one.
I would ask everybody here, I know everyone who's been through Madison County knows what type of man Mr. Mitchell is. From being your coach, your principal, your teacher. Currently, right now, we only have 3 letters. We need a minimum of 4. Please write a letter to the board so this can happen. He has probably done more for Madison County education and sports than probably any coach we've ever had come through here. So please, please, write a letter.
You can do it right now.
Do it right this minute.
Should you want
If I
to?
give you the fourth one, you can't vote on it tonight. I can give you the
Can we vote on it
I
tonight?
can give you the letter in 15 minutes.
I mean, to me, the 3 letters, only having 3 letters instead of 4 is a technicality, because there's no doubt the support for this is out there.
Can Donald verbally say his letter?
Dear board. I have no problem with that.
Ms. Graham, do you see any reason we can't vote on this tonight?
We'd have to amend the agenda
We have to
again.
amend the agenda, but we've done that before.
Can we just add a 12C to amend the agenda? Is it
Make a
business?
motion.
You can technically put it at 12A because we moved 12A.
That's right, we moved
12A is
12A.
empty.
They're trying to get a letter written. There we go.
There is nobody like Mr.
Please do
Mitchell.
this. So I'll go ahead and amend
Make the motion.
Is that okay?
Yeah.
Okay, so I would like to, Mr. Chairman, I would like to make a motion to amend the agenda and add back a 12A to approve, well, to request the name of the baseball field be approved. No.
Skyler has made a motion.
Yeah.
Is there a second?
I'll second.
Ms. Allen has seconded. Any further discussion? All in favor of the motion to put this on the agenda, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. All right, it is approved. So now that's the next item on our agenda, right? That was clever, Nita.
I know.
Put it on our agenda next. Does anyone want to make a motion with regard to the request we have supported by 4 letters at least? It sounds like.
It sounds like there's some coming out here, so.
Is anyone prepared to make a motion with regard to the naming of the baseball field?
Yes, Mr. Chairman. I would like to make a motion that we rename the baseball field after Mr. Billy Mitchell.
Is there a second?
I'll second.
Mr. Green has moved, Mr. Allen has seconded. Ms. Allen has seconded. Excuse me. Any further discussion? I just want to say I love the man, and then nothing
Yep, me
would make
too.
me happier than to see the Billy Mitchell baseball field.
And it's about giving people their flowers while they can still smell them.
Yep.
Because we don't want him to go over to the other side and not knowing how much we truly love and appreciate his contribution to our school district.
Yep. Thank you.
Have we voted yet?
Not yet.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. And
Thank you all.
We need to thank the audience. for
Thank
helping
Thank
us
you,
out.
audience.
There's the letter, all right.
Thank you.
Would you deliver that to our clerk, please?
I will be proud to. Where's our clerk?
Ms. Collier, do you have a time frame for us to get a ceremony put together?
So Mr. Jenkins, I talked to him again tonight. He couldn't attend tonight. Roger Jenkins, I know him as Red, is heading this up, and He is waiting for my phone call as soon as I walk out of here.
Okay.
So he has funding. He has, we just need to order the sign or whatever we decide, whatever he decides. And we can get it together, I would say, in the next few weeks.
Okay.
Yeah.
Just connect him with our
Okay.
office so we can get a date.
Do you want me to just call you?
You're right.
Okay, perfect. Will do. Okay. Thank you all.
Would the board give permission, Nita, you've headed this up, would the board give permission to Nita and I, maybe to and anybody else that wants to go along, to go visit Mr. Mitchell and tell him this? Do you think that would be appropriate?
I would love to, yes. And he is accepting visitors. Yeah.
We'll be there a while. You know.
Yep, I know. I would love to. Yep.
I think I've heard most of his baseball stories 3 or 4 times, but I think I'll probably hear them again.
He was not a coach, he was my primary school principal when I attended the primary school.
The whole town.
And I remember him completely, he was awesome.
All right.
I can call you, Barry, and let you know when we can go back.
We'll work it out.
Certainly.
12B, revised 2021-22 school calendar.
Yes. I have been meeting with our school administrators and then also the teacher advisory group that we have that has 3 representatives from every building. And one of the requests from our last meeting was that we add in a couple more workday opportunities for teachers. We are having a sub shortage, like many school divisions going on right now. And so a lot of our teachers are being pulled, or their assistants in their room are being pulled, and it's taking away their planning time. So they're requesting at least 2 more half days, which we built into the calendar for Thursday, November 4th, and Thursday, December 9th, to become half student days, and then the remainder of the day be some extra planning time for teachers. And then also on this calendar, the high school has set the graduation date to be Saturday, May 21st at 10 a.m. So that's on the calendar as well. So those are the changes and what we're proposing this evening.
What was the date for the graduation?
May 21st, Saturday.
So these additional planning days, it's just 2 in the fall. You're not proposing anything for the spring at this point?
Right, and that's exactly what we said. Let's just work through the fall. And what that did, there were already 2 half days built in. And so it almost goes every 2 weeks. It's not perfect, but almost there would be a half day every 2 weeks. And the reason why we didn't go for Wednesday, because usually our half days are on Wednesday, is because the high school is now doing that Inspire block. And if we were to go 2 more Wednesdays, that disrupts them 2 more times for that block.
So were these originally full days for kids?
Yes.
Okay.
Okay, this is a proposal before us. Any motion?
I'd like to make a motion that we approve the revised 2021-2022 Madison County Public School calendar as presented.
Ms. Allen has moved. Is there a second?
I'll second.
Mr. Green has seconded. Any further discussion? Ms. Graham, I just want to commend you for working with our teachers, because we all know how stressed out for everybody the last 2 years have been, but our teachers bear so much of it. This isn't much, but it'll help. I'm sure it'll be appreciated. I appreciate you working with them on this. Are you ready to vote? All in favor of this motion to revise the calendar, say aye. Aye. Opposed, same sign. And it is approved. Reports. Why don't we just, Ms. Collier, start at your end and work our way down the table.
So the prep board did not meet because they did not have a quorum last month. So we're going to try for next month, or this month, I guess, in a couple of weeks. And so I don't have a report from there, but I will share that 23 of Madison County's finest agriculture kids represented Madison County at the Virginia State Fair in Dyersville, Virginia. We are small, but we are mighty. And they brought home and made a mark for Madison County. So we brought home lots of banners, lots of recognitions, and we have some smart ag kids. We won several skillathons. So way to go, Madison.
All right, I attended the CIP committee meeting. During that meeting, we discussed some of the issues at the primary school currently, and also we're talking about the next 10 years for our CIP projects to address the buildings for some of the deficiencies that we have. And also last Thursday, we had walkthroughs at Waverly. I think that is the most rewarding part of the job, is going into the schools. And the group of kids that we had this time around were so energetic, and it was such a pleasure to be there. And that is it. Also, I would like to say, the next time we'll meet, we will already be past election day. So everybody get out there and vote for your candidates. We have a couple candidates here, one beside me. I see Misha in the audience as well, but go out there and vote because, this will be your board in the next 4 years. That's all I got to say.
Well, I've been to a CIP meeting as well, and Mr. Green has kept you up on that, so I've got nothing else. No?
I attended the Blue Ridge Virtual Governor's School meeting, and they're having some of the wobbles in attendance as far as classes go, but everything's starting to pick back up again, so what they lost, they're gaining, so they're very optimistic about the governor's school right now. And I also went on the tour at Waverly last week, and it was nice to be home again, even if for a little bit. So, but I was just very impressed with the children. I thought they did a great job, and the teachers as well, and the administration as well. So.
I know on the guys' side, we had probably the most enthusiastic tour guide we have ever had. I don't know why they divided us by gender, but I'm hoping you all got as great a tour with as much enthusiasm as ours did. One said that they had been looking forward since kindergarten to be the student to show the school board around, and he did not disappoint. Dr. Eichelberg.
Yes, so I haven't been to the CTE advisory meeting yet, but we have a meeting later this month, so I'll have a report for you next time on that. I also attended the walkthrough at Waverly, and it was great to see all the different methods, like the different teaching methods that teachers were using, and students using their Chromebooks to do research in one class, doing stations in another class. It was just great to see what they were working on. And tonight, there was a question directed to me earlier. Can I answer the question? So there was a question about what is the Equity Task Force. So that was a task force that the board made a resolution to form last year. We invited the public and community members as well as staff to volunteer to be on the Equity Task Force. That was shared in our meetings, as well as there was a public Facebook for Madison County Public Schools about the Equity Task Force. And I did share that public post from Madison County Public Schools in a group that I'm in. That group is the Madison Equality Project, which is a group that was also formed last year, and I thought that group would be interested in the task force, and that's why I shared that information in that group. So that's all I have from my report. Thanks.
Welcome. Your chance to Tell us what's going on at the high school.
All right. Hello. Honestly, right now, all I have is good reports from the high school. I am in conversation with a lot of the kids there on things that we could do to make things better, and I will come prepared next time with newly updated ideas. But as of the Inspire Times, I have a lot of people love those at the high school. Teachers getting to share with the students their what they love to do, and students then being able to have the choosing. Personally, I'm an SCA and Beta Club, and I love it. I love the Wednesday schedules. Seniors do get to leave for lunch, so that's really fun. And then it sounds so surreal to talk about graduation, but the graduation date being May 21st, very excited for that. So yeah, that's all good reports as of right now.
Thank you. Graham, do you have anything else for us this evening?
I don't really have anything else to share other than I'm very excited that our student rep Samantha is here. It's fun when we have our students here during the year. So I'm looking forward to working with you and all the energy that you're going to bring. So welcome tonight.
Anybody prepared to make a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
Ms. Allen has moved. Is there a second?
Second.
Seconded. All in favor of adjourning, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. And we are adjourned.